Welcome. Om Gyatmarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jina Tasmei Shri Guruve Namah. Well, welcome to the channel and discussions of Lord Gauranga and his whole philosophy and import to the world, to us all, to our souls, and discussions around who he is, what he brought, and all who came with him. So yeah, it's my hope to make an offering that's going to make a difference to people's lives in their hearts. And the attempt is for me to offer what little significant, real, sincere devotion I may or may not have, but at least to represent and try and present what has inspired and guides me, and what inspires me of devotion and all about devotion. Yes, so my hope is to inspire you to inquire, to daily take to a diet of inspiration, soul injection of what's called kata. And there's a distinction in the Sanskrit that talks of prajalpa and kata. So kata is eternal discussions that are positive, and prajalpa is basically useless discussions that are non-generative and often degenerative. So gossip, village talk, what's called gram kata. So the gram, the nandagram, all this village talk is usually what most people talk about. And in that, there's, of course, what's going on with who, to whom, and what, and why, and when. And this tends to be mainly what our news in our world is. Cheers. Yeah, so I'm a pretty informal person, so the hopes in the talks and films and whatever else I can bring is to share that the very highest that I can. I have some skills of memory or whatever, some attributes that allow me to learn some things. But equally, I've got other attributes and qualities or lack of qualities that hinder me. And I hope to appeal to all of you who watch to suspend your critique on all of my failings, because they're too innumerable to mention, and to accept that the wiser, higher, more noble beings have existed and continue to exist, but they aren't promoted. You have to discover them. You have to actually seek them out, and you have to be willing to find them and go through not necessarily some ordeal. It might be very pleasant, but some disturbance of your comfort to break through that malaise. You know, as in the Matrix, they talk about the splinter in your mind. Not everyone gets that. Not everyone understands that reference, because not everyone's a critical thinker, nor do a lot of people have the time to philosophize and wonder about the more cosmic aspects of our being, or the more integrated local spiritual aspects of our being. And this is the heart of the discussion of talking about Mahaprabhu, because he purely came to show us exactly what and how to do. For us to consider to imitate him is really, once you get to know, and I'll share as much as you would like and as much as I possibly can. And feel free to go fast forwarding and zip around and come back, or hear me all in one go live. I'm not going to be constantly peddling for your likes and subscriptions. That's on you. If you value this, you know what to do. Um, but I will present to you some of the basics of knowledge that are important for our health, well-being, and soul nourishment. So there's a lovely pithy um, motto, if you like, of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and that is Jiva Doya Nama Ruchi Vaishnav Seva. So Jiva Doya, be merciful to the living entities, to all of the living souls and beings and spirit beings. Merciful. We'll have to revisit that as a concept and see what that means. Nam Ruchi, so real appreciation and tasting, deep appreciation, whether it's tasting, but deep appreciation of the name. And with that comes with attachment, right? So with affectionate attachment, not being able to stop. So that desire to continually taste the Lord's holy name, which if you haven't heard, and I just put a poll there, so if you come across this, I'm not going to be aware how to promote and make this, 1 million subscribers for the pleasure of my Gurudev without everyone's help in making that happen. The point of having a motto to stand by is that it keeps us on target. So Nam Ruchi is like, don't forget that this is what it's all about. And merciful to the souls, it's like, well, if you're not, then you're not going to get this name flowing in you either. And Vaishnav Seva is the practical, the final stage of the motto is practical. What to do? I can sit at home, chant the holy name, maybe have a taste, maybe not. But if I do have a taste, the end prescription is not just to be kind to people and take the holy name. It's to actually serve the higher will, the higher section. And for a lot of us, we are independent-minded. We've come here for the independent experience, and we're not much into surrendering to anyone. We've been grown up, brought up, formed our realities around concepts that have been delivered to us by so-called authorities in our life, our parents and teachers and others that have sculpted and molded our worldview, often nefariously and from the conqueror's perspective. So we're only getting a filtered version, corrected version constantly as history marches along. So one of the reasons that I took to, and I'll give a background on who I am, but one of the reasons that I took to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Hare Krishna, worship of Sriman Mahaprabhu, is that I've always felt sincerely drawn to, but the evidence of what the sincere follower does and who they are and what they say has never matched until I came into contact with sincere devotees. And I have met sincere devotees in missions that are less than sincere themselves, meaning that I'm not going to hold back from, being very personal about my affection for my particular lineage and temple organization, as informal as it is and as chaotic as a family is. It is my family and it is my lineage, and that's not something that I've been converted into. It's something that I have willingly, lovingly, desperately searched for and found, and even after finding, wasn't able to find my actual substantial connection. And that took time. It took purification to a large degree, and that means the conceptual framework, my baseline as to what I can accept, what I've already got in there, and what I can accept from another. And for me, that was hard because I shoved a lot in there. I was an avid reader ever since that started for me around 6 or 7 or something. It didn't stop, and it just kept going until one of my gurus at one point, who was in the progressive development side of getting to where I'm at. And I'm not at a fixed point. I'm just saying the connection that I have. It took a progression for me to get there. As most people in the world can appreciate or have experienced, the Hare Krishnas, meaning ISKCON, the worldwide movement, is mostly what people have had some contact with. And here, I live in New South Wales, northern New South Wales, in Murwillumbah, and we're blessed to have 3 different missions, including our own, represented around here, around the Great Mountain, Wollumbin here, that draws us all like a magnet. And this placing for the Vaishnavas is considered, outside of India, the most auspicious place on the planet. So there's many devotees here of variety. And, I include myself in that when you say variety. But the point is not about the variety. There is always going to be variety, even in amongst one particular mission. It's about what is the substance. And so rather than the form of a society or a group, we should be, should means the favorable thing to do is to be actually discussing the magnificent magnetic personality, the supreme personality of Sriman Mahaprabhu, who is both Radha and Krishna combined into one form. So we have all this hype, hyperbole, exaggeration, excitement, fury, anger, wars you'll understand after I've done this for a while, what an insignificant personalities have occurred before and since Srimad Mahaprabhu. So let us begin with him. And just to reveal, like I put in a little post, I get so much personally from glorifying the Lord. It's an unfair equation. I get so much. It's not an effort for me to do it. Okay, I might require some nourishment, some hydration. I might need to take a break from time to time, but I get so much more. And when I talk about more, it's like I'm not going to get it from anything else either. So that sense of nourishment is filling up a part of me that doesn't fill up without doing this. And as good as I know that source is, and as reliable as that source is to nourish me, I'm a human who makes excuses and has all sorts of manufactured reasons why I don't, including work and other family commitments, responsibilities, duties. But actually, I've come to the point in my life now where I'm approaching 60 or so. And I need to really just do the thing that I know to do. And regardless of consequences, I work a job in different places, just to make enough money to pay the rent. I haven't got high desires and goals for myself financially, except I would like to travel and go and see my Gurudev in Brazil this year. And if I manage to stimulate any interest from people here online and inspire people who are keen and serious and sincere, open for that connection to my Gurudev, so happy. I live for this. So any queries or questions about him or this path or me, I mean, I'm not that interesting as the subject matter. So I intend to, in this introductory, just cover those basics so I don't have to revisit them again and again. And I will soon. But just more on why I'm doing this. Wow. So if anyone's on social media, you're pretty much aware of how the play is going, right? The destruction of institutions, the breaking of trust, the wearing down of through attrition and lies, constant, webs of manufactured, institutionalized lies, that people are starting to fracture, and their old gods, rationalized conceptions or positions that they've taken are being challenged really seriously right now. And rightly so. The fact that I've got this conception within my life doesn't mean that I'm not experiencing what everyone else is experiencing. I'm just not taking it as important as everyone else is. That's all. Why? Because I know I'm a soul, not a body. And that's fundamental. So at a basic level, qualifiers, there's some qualifications that are really required. And I would say that desire to know yourself beyond the body and the senses and the mind is what's really going to be one of your greatest assets. And to know the truth about that. Be uncompromising, sincere and uncompromising, but fair and open in order to, because I'm going to blow your mind, frankly, in so many ways, the longer you stick around. And it's not hard. The conceptual framework of the Vedas and the eternal reality, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj puts, it behooves us to know reality as he is, and hence why I'm not scared. It doesn't matter who's gunning for me. It doesn't matter if Mahamaya herself is gunning for me, because I'm a servant of the Lord. She won't be gunning for me. If I was a servant of myself, trying to promote some exclusive cult of worship for myself, or my own pretend version, or my own concocted interpretation of the Gita to get worship or to get a fan base, then, I will just be a skull on her garland if that's the case. And we have many who've taken to that side of self-service rather than sincere service to their own soul and to the Lord, to the Atma and the Paramatma, the beyond soul, the great soul, which is Sri Krishna. I included a picture. I don't know if that's going to show up on here, but I included a picture, and please forgive my lack of knowledge on, hang on, I'm seeing share screen here. I'm going to see if, no, I'm not going to dare to do this now. But I'm going to get savvy eventually. I'll learn over time. But there's a picture I posted on here of the whole Brahmanda, the whole creation, the whole universe, if you like. Just one bubble is one of those universes, but the whole creation. And in the above section, the spiritual sky, which is why I'm going to easily blow a lot of people's minds, and it's not a sky joking, boastful claim. It's really sincere because the mind itself is contained, localized. It is magnetically um, self-centered and self-interested, and so therefore, the greater subject of connectedness is rarely contemplated unless the soul expands and contemplates the expansion of their self into other realms. It's like if you're planning to go journeying to another land. Maybe, you grew up on an island, that's all you've known, but people have come and gone, and there's other places, and you've heard from this other place how wonderful it is in this city, whatever it's called. And you prepare, you make, how do I get there? And you make preparations, and you're sincere in your preparations to get there. You don't know what you're going to do when you get there. You don't know how, you don't know even what the language is, maybe, or you've got to learn some language, or you've got to take on some skills or knowledge, to fit in, to learn the ways, so as to not impose. And this is really what we're talking about, acculturation to the spiritual atmosphere. The name himself, Sri Nam Prabhu, the holy name, is a conditioning agent, is dynamic divine interference in our life that will promote and prompt the shedding of useless desires. Yeah. And that is something that, if it's not going to be of interest if you've still got a whole swag of desires you want to fulfill, to come to this side of the quest, sincere quest, like, I know I'm going to die, from this body will die. I've got no problem with that, and I'll come to it in my personal story. I have no problem with that because I've already died 3 times in this body, so and resuscitated. So all good, let's get on with it. Whatever I'm here to get on with, let's get on with it. So my story, probably good to share with you. So came to Krishna consciousness well after my initial time exploring religions of the world and philosophy and science. Going right back from the age of 4, I've been cosmically aware, self-aware, was out in the backyard garden of corn, lost apparently for hours and hours, had no recollection of time except this connection that I had with a gigantic locust or insect of some kind. And it was hours I was out there, and just codes and geometries and all sorts of stuff. Big connection. That was that. Then age, many military family background, which kind of conditions me for an ordered life, on a psychological level. I am very much in favor of an ordered life. I am a rebel. That's why I'm here, but I am in favor of order. And for that to happen, I have to embrace the rules, I have to embrace how to get along best, and that is in gradation. So again, I'll quote Srila Sridhar Maharaj a lot because his words are perfect. The guardian of devotion himself, Srila Bhakti Rakshata Dev Goswami Maharaj, said the environment is always perfect, and change yourself. It's not about changing your environment. If you've got a problem, change yourself. So adapting and adopting is going to be one of the talents of the soul, to be able to move through a situation, but also being attached to the holy name and being attached to the service of your guru, being attached to the goodwill of all. That has its own consequence in your own field. And that's visible to others, whether they can intelligently realize or articulate that. So, what next about me? I came in contact with the devotees in Melbourne. I was working in books and consuming books on a regular, constantly, like 5 books a day, reading everything. Of course, I could. And I had a massive book collection. I used to be a massive hoarder, to the point where I was just lugging them around for years and paying for storage, and not cool. They all got destroyed in the end. But this, except for a little selection here that I guard and have pride in. And maybe I'll just show you, because having a canon of thought, a reference field for the framework of divinity, it's not hard to do, and it's not that expensive in order to arm yourself and educate yourself. Of course, the best is to surrender to a guru, but most people are really vexed with that concept. And I can only vouch for my own guru. I'm only ever going to promote my own Gurudev, which is Srila Bhaktivinoda Trivika Maharaj, who's over in Brazil, because it isn't about me. I'm just that one of his servants. I'm just, and not a very good one. So do what I can. I'm even absent from currently absent from service at the temple. It's not my natural position, and I find myself in an abject position of my own devotion, meaning that, I don't want to be on strike. So in another sense, that kind of really informs this effort. I want to do something to please my Gurudev. I want to do something to nourish others, to kindly give to others a truth that will give some solace and proper nourishment. Because I really lacked that myself, and I had to find it. And so that's kind of what I got to offer. So Gaura Sangha, developing an association around Mahaprabhu. He had his own group around him at his own time that were his own associates, his own divine personalities that came with him and were with him and revealed various aspects for us to contemplate, to assimilate, and to know. And talking about him, giving any glorification of him, it takes some knowledge. So there's already some purification by receiving that knowledge, that being able to glorify or being able to appreciate glorification of him means that you're already on your way. And it's very favorable to the soul to have any appreciation of the Supreme Lord himself. It's very, very rare. If there's one thing I can highlight in this, that my goal's absurd, right? I want to get 1 million subscribers on here for the pleasure and the service of my Gurudev and for the service of those souls. It seems absurd, and I'm saying it right at the kickoff, but I know in Krishna consciousness, Gaura consciousness, as I'm feeling way more inclined to identify as, because really when we do understand, comprehend, appreciate who is Mahaprabhu, the great Lord, Shriman Mahaprabhu himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, when we do understand and can fathom, uh, truthfully appreciate, honestly absorb what has been legitimately put down by those who were direct witnesses to everything. It isn't 5,000 years ago. This is 500 years ago. This is when Europe was expanding. The spiritual world expanded here as colonialism of material, let's say, fake concepts of divinity. It's going to be pretty hard to say and for people to hear. But I mean, it's all there. One of the things I'd really love to do with you all is to do some sampling of other some wonderful orators and presenters of information, and interpret or add to or give commentary from a Gaudiya perspective, and bring some quotations into things, because I think that's another part of the task of what I can do here is bridge a lot of gaps, and burn a lot of completely useless ones. Bridge that which needs to be bridged, because, well, let's say this has just popped to my mind. There's a saying on earth, from tribal people that I've known of, that none are left behind. It's like, well, depends what we're talking about. From the knowledge that I've got, this has all been going on many, many times. And there's very few that seek the out path. Most are really just quite happy to shuffle around and try something new. But everything's new when you've got a memory wipe coming in. And unless you're able to recall past the memory wipe, then you don't know. And none of it's substantial to you. And furthermore, our memories are not firm, right? In this age, we've got very, very poor memories. I mean, I know for myself, I've imagined into memory some events, and I have definitely forgotten some events and recalled them later. So knowing all of that, and the scripture, again, I can go directly to Lord Krishna's words here himself, saying that I am intelligence and I am memory. Without me, there is no remembering. But this also is like the hallmark. We are so remote from Lord Krishna. And except for Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, who brought Shri Radha Krishna out to us all, and Lord Jagannath and Baladev Subhadra, and Shri Gaur-Nitai, well, we wouldn't know them in the rest of the world, in the west of the world. It would still only be treasure and property of India. But as Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, as he's referred, by his own mission, and many, and was given that title by Srila Sridhar Maharaj, his senior godbrother and guru, substantial Shiksha guru. If it weren't for him, the Western world wouldn't know of Lord Krishna and wouldn't know of Mahaprabhu. Now, following on from Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, who did come, and about as long as I'm a little bit younger than the mission itself in the West. So this is the look of Hare Krishna, discovered for myself around, I have to say, 24, 25, and captured, like most are, through the secret weapon, which is prasadam. But it's also not just any prasadam, it's the halava, the date halava, the ghee-laden halva with custard. It's the bomb. It's like super sweet. So that in itself is like one of the major recruiting tools into the eternal faith. One, because prasadam, if you don't know prasadam, prasadam is offered to the Lord through process, through mantra, properly, or sincerely in the heart. It's been offered and received. If it isn't received, it's not really prasadam. So the onus is on the offerer and the offering. You can't offer something that is actually unpleasant to the Lord. So nothing that is from the modes of ignorance, basically. So anything tamasic, what's called tamasic in the mode of ignorance, can't really offer that to the Lord, and He won't accept it. So it's like you could offer, but it's like, yeah. Like you put something on the plate of a dear invited guest at your place, and you don't know what it is that they like and don't like, and they're like, maybe something else, or I'm not hungry, thank you. And that's the Lord reserves all rights. All rights reserved, His side. So I meant to put that in there, and this is way more important than the YouTube corporate policy of ownership and everything else, but all rights reserved to the Gauryas, to the Gauriya Siddhanta, to the Shruti, to the personified Vedas, to all of the Brahmamatva Gauriya Sampradaya acharyas, all of those instructing, leading, giving example in pure devotion. So, most of the world has been taking comfort and solace in lies and haven't had anything to challenge that, haven't had anything to supplant or take its place. Well, I'm offering something from me. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. If you don't get it, there's hundreds of thousands of other channels. If you get it, stay with me. If you like it, share it. If you don't like it, move along. It's all good. This is not a place of argument. This is a place of discussion, and this is a place of inquiry. And as I've discovered in my own path, there's nothing achieved by boldly asserting a counterposition other than looking foolish in front of someone who has great knowledge. So let's explore concepts. This is really what great minds do. And yeah, okay, we're great souls. We hope to be great souls, but great souls are worshipping the Lord directly. So let's use our minds in great pursuit towards that service is really the best way to put it. Now every single episode, I'm going to be giving you gems. If you're able to get them, you get them. You write them down, you take them. They're yours, but they're not yours. They're not mine to give either, but they are gems. And if you hold them within you, they manifest for you, and they'll manifest qualities. And if you honor and glorify those gems in others, those gems come to you too. These are the secrets of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So offering blessings. This is another topic. Blessings and curses. So India, a lot of people have been to India and have had some experience over the years. Devotion, bhakti, and the Vedic Shastras and sannyas, etc., is a known and tolerated thing by the family section. And the family section is huge. The family section is all the women as much as it's most of the men who are under the influence of the women. So that includes government, because it's not until you get to the elder stage of your life that you have ceased to try and keep forging a new name for yourself or a new path. You've accepted who you are and you've accepted what you've got, and you're good to go. You're good to represent at that point either yourself or something else. Some wisdom, hopefully, has come. But it's not likely. Okay, one of the other real keys to success with spiritual path, pardon me, the spiritual path is association. We can associate through books. We can associate through sound. We can be hearing the words of pure souls, speaking pure words. And we can become purified by the association of those who we have in our company, who we choose to accept in our lives, on our screens, on our scrying mirrors. So there's another part to this, which is all magic and all accommodating. It's not just that everything is perfect, but that when we do glorify the Lord, anything that is used to glorify the Lord becomes purified. So the ethers are becoming purified as I attempt to glorify the Lord properly. And we'll see here in one particular book, this was recovered by Sriman Mahaprabhu from a temple in South India when he was on his travels. This is the Srimad Brahma Samhita. So this 5th chapter is all about Lord Brahma glorifying Lord Sri Krishna when he encounters him internally and is able to describe, he is asked to describe everything, and he glorifies the Lord endlessly until the point where the Lord says, all right, that's good. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just don't make religions. So, Lord Brahma isn't a being who wouldn't follow instruction, but he also became a creator. And in creating, he had his own mind-born children, because he doesn't exist in a dense realm. He is of a different, he's said to be composed of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, or Shuddha Buddhi, pure intelligence. So that pure intelligence isn't taking a dense form for its own conscious creative experience. But in that conscious creative experience, there's a sense of go forth and multiply, this generation, generative quality. He's just sitting there all on his own. And then he goes, what about some kids? That's an idea. And these kids, what we now know as Prajapati, the children of the creator, they become the generators, Aditi and a whole bunch of others. And hence why we've got the very diverse range of creations and species, is because of these first progenitors in all of the universes, by the way. It's not like this is a unique story. This is a replicatable story. And whilst our universe is said to have a 4-headed Brahma, there are countless others with 4-headed Brahma, but there's also others with 100-headed Brahma, 1,000, million, meaning that either literally, and it's hard for us to conceptualize that, and artists have done their best, but it looks absurd, or we are able to have a poetic relationship to that, where how many faces is is indicative of how many perceptions that flash to us. Like, for instance, with Lord Vishnu, his Vishvarup, which is Lord Krishna displays on the battlefield, which is not this one. He's actually describing the spiritual, at the end, he's describing the spiritual world. But the Vishvarup is actually not something that the devotees really want to talk about that much, because it doesn't give them pleasure. Very fearsome, flaming mouths, etc. And that's a Vishnu aspect, and Vishnu is the great purifier, the maintainer. And in maintaining, like here in Australia, there's got to be some fire to maintain, and that means things have got to burn, regularly. Don't be hanging on to things; let them burn. Otherwise the rot comes from hanging on, the degeneration. But we're in this age of Kali, so if you're a devotee, you'll get all these terms. If you're not a devotee and you haven't been initiated, welcomed, acclimatized, I'll explain these terms as we go, as best I can. Or if you're confused, just ask a question. Mahaprabhu. So normally we think and have feelings of divinity in an abstract kind of way. We have these feelings that divinity is somehow just conceptual. I'm just going to get comfortable. It's just conceptual. It's just thematic, but we don't really understand from his perspective, from what is the reality. We superimpose or project our limited framework from our sensual experience, including the mind that's organizing all those senses, into a consciousness. And we superimpose whatever the product of that consciousness is onto the possibilities of divinity, when in fact we've got no capacity. Our mind can't penetrate that. And the basis of saying that, of stating that, is that we know from the Gita that there's 8 ingredients within the material creation, that the soul, our soul, which has 3 primary ingredients or components to it, is wrapped within. So in each case, every single soul is ensconced and sheathed within their own subtle body, mirroring the 3 qualities of the soul. And those 3 qualities of the soul are said to be Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat is eternal. It's a quality, eternal quality. Chit means knowledge. It also means awareness. It means appropriate knowledge and not limited. And Anandam. Ananda or Anandam means bliss. So that is the nature of our soul. And the subtle body that is covering us initially and always, regardless of what physical body we end up in, the subtle body is mirroring that. And it's comprised of false ego, which is the most expansive container of the entire soul. false ego. Next, intelligence, like with Lord Brahma, but for us, this layer next in forming us is intelligence, raw intelligence from the universe and from a conduit of intelligence. So chit turns into intelligence. And, the anandam component for us, false ego, intelligence, and the mind. So in a way, the anandam is our mental, it's all in our mind. So maybe this will give you pleasure. Maybe this will irritate you. Maybe I'm irritating you. Maybe I'm giving you pleasure. Maybe it is all just a mental construct. So being able to accept that, to remove that, to experience our soul, we don't have the capacity to just go, all right, I'll take that off and, there's my soul. I'm back with you guys, OG. We're not there in this environment. Simple, right? To be that here means we have changed our entire bioelectric, magnetic, polarity, field, charge, informed field, aura, relations, activities, values, qualities. Everything about us has changed because no one gets to the spiritual world without it being, you're selected. It's, they don't have to take anyone. The Lord is waiting for us, right? He is eagerly waiting for us. There's one book that I can think of in particular that shows that. And there's a story of Gopakumar from the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, which talks of exactly that the Lord is there waiting to embrace us back in his home, in his own village. This very simple feeling, sentiment, an expression or knowing of that should play on a sincere soul. Also, knowing that the Lord's only given one instruction to us in two parts. One, which is positive, one, which is the negative, prescription, proscription, which is always remember him and never forget him. And something only a friend would say. And a good friend at that, one who is beneficial to us. But remembering him and chasing him down is quite another thing. When I say chasing him down, you're not getting there by your own dint, assured. Those yogis and transcendentalists of the psychedelic kind or of the occult force kind merely will impale themselves on Lord Shiva's Trishula, his fork. What do you do? His forked trident. That's the result of forcing your way in. And otherwise, you're coming through the front gate with Jai and Vijay going, hey, good to see you. And if you're not welcome, you're not coming through there. So that's called Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. As you can see, I'm not a standard class teacher type. I will introduce you to all of the mantra, all of the important shlokas, we call them, the verses, and all of the important texts to take in. So I'll give you a brief showing of some of the texts that I've got here to share with you over the rest of my life, the rest of your life. Showed you this one already, which is Sri Brahma Samhita, quintessence of reality, the beautiful. And yeah, it's very beautiful, and it's sung as well, right? And there's a lovely recording of someone doing it expertly that really is very haunting. And I'll get a track when I do play this, when I do record this and do a reading of it. But if we consider, there's let's, to be honest and frank about the book itself, there's some controversy from, and there's anti-party to what we are, to who people like me are. The anti-party is a group of bodily identified fakers in the holy places who have a problem sharing because they're racist. And they believe that only because you're born in a certain body can you attain certain things. And they scoff and sneer at anyone outside of their race having any chance of purity. But we have ample evidence of the Lord himself not caring a tinker's cuss about any of the racial or non-qualified backgrounds. He only cared about sincere devotion, and hence why that's what I'm looking to talk to you all about. And where we find that, we've got to, we've got to appreciate, let's say, however you can, because it's really rare when you find it. I do hope to also, if I can make something of this conversation with you all, to invite certain personalities on to share with you directly, and maybe I can dialogue with them and have some discussions around various topics, but at least introduce you to a number of the personalities, living personalities within our mission, that right now I think is in a deliberate hiatus beyond our own making and inscrutable to the purpose of what this hiatus is about. But we've had 50 years of expansion into the West, and it feels to me like a pause is happening to recalibrate and to go forward again. It's been 500 years since the Lord was here, so as far as all the celestials are concerned, in their own loca, their own zones, they're all been informed of the wonderful opportunity within this age. And it's said that this age of Kali is an ocean of inauspiciousness, save and except for the advent of the Lord's holy names. So everything else here is inauspicious, and we can go even further and say that there's only two things that are actually divine in the world or in the universes, and that being the jivas, the marginal potencies of the Lord himself, you and me, and the Lord and his holy names. They're the only two things, nothing else. So you and me and everyone else in between. But we want to reserve our intelligent worship and reverence and respect and attention, affection, our limited time that we have, placing our valuable attention into the right channel, the right endeavor, the right path, not just for us, but for our soul. So it is very likely going to be a challenge for everybody that listens to this over time. There's going to be things. I've moved away from the path and come back ultimately many times, and gone deeper at different times and pulled away at different times. because that's just the nature of everyone's unique path in Krishna consciousness or Gora consciousness, is that that cleansing doesn't happen for many on a continual basis, but at stages, at phases, at timings. And when you have something that is substantial and real that you've connected to and trust and value, then things form into a relativity over the period of your life about it. Like I could say with regards to the notion of being a member of a country, the more knowledge you get, the more deep, the further your travels are with the country, it polarizes. It deepens in both ways. Your experience richens and deepens in both ways. But there are many that are taken off the path of devotion because they either don't take the warnings or they aren't sincere. And it's right and proper that they are taken off the path. It's more a favor to them, because being insincere in the presence of sincere souls is problematic. A sincere soul has nothing to lose with regards to telling the truth, whereas an insincere soul builds their framework of reality upon the acceptance of untruth. So having said that, I'm not claiming to be the arbiter of truth, nor the only possessor of truth, nor that what I'm representing to you is the only truth. What I am claiming to represent to you in this is that I will do my best to sincerely show and give ample evidence as to why Sriman Mahaprabhu, Gaurasundar, the beautiful golden Lord, the volcano of divine love, why he is the supreme being and why you should worship him and get on with it ASAP. Because you've frankly got nothing except ignorance and laziness to lose. It's taken this extraordinary position in the world for me to come out and to want to give some nourishment and hope to others. I do sincerely hope that you'll get something from it. But it's not going to stop me from showing up and giving, because we've got such gems like this one, The Golden Volcano of Divine Love by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Excellent book. Absolutely astounding. And also intimate and personal. So this Guru Parampara is the history of the people who've been holding the conception of Mahaprabhu. And primarily for me, the connection to Srila Govinda Maharaj. How do I hold it? There you go. Come back a little. There we go. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj. He's not my direct guru in the sense that I never met him. And his guru, Srila Bhakti Rockok, Srila Dev Goswami Maharaj. Oops, there we go. It's easy for me to say I'm his. It's like I'm captured. Gosh, I can't argue. I'm past life, maybe, I don't know, but like I just feel completely his. And that's to my advantage to feel that way. But it's impractical to feel that way, literally. And so I have to surrender, like he showed to Nityananda Prabhu, who is Adi Guru, who is the original Guru. And definitely we'll be talking about this in another episode, show, whatever this is. He is the Adi Guru, and he is the one who is literally your Guru. And he will be, let's say, overshadowing or influencing or be evident in your own personal Guru. And he expands himself to do this task. Functionally, okay, before we get on to Srimad Mahaprabhu himself, functionally, he is God, practically speaking, because he is also not just Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he is also factually in Goloka Vrindavan, Lord Balaram, Krishna's older brother, the original being's older brother, who factually expands himself into what's called Chatuvyuha, the four aspects of Lord Balaram. And those aspects extend to become Vishnu and functions of Vishnu. And so, practically speaking, not even Lord Brahma is God in the sense of this allness and everything. He is, but not in this particular form. This particular form is like all attractive, personal. I can't wait to tell you about him. And his followers. His own crew of followers are just extraordinary. But that example that he gave, and he's considered to be the brother of Lord Chaitanya, but they weren't blood brothers growing up. But this is not considered to be a difference. And when we also hear that he is Lord Balaram and Lord Nityananda is Lord Balaram, there is no difference. But practically, no difference, we're experiencing a difference. So, but intellectually or within our heart, we can know there's no difference, which means that our respect is battling our affection. Our affection is battling our respect. The feelings that churn from these great personalities and Mahaprabhu, the next page, the churning that knowledge of him produces is exquisite. And in one of the finest theological books ever put down, which is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami reminds us that substance that we're chasing and experiencing, that anandam, from the kata, from the sangha, from the association, all of that prema bhakti that we're chasing, that we're hoping for a drop from, a drop of, he describes is like a poison, is like lightning moving through your veins, is burns. So again, gradation in everything, Now here's Mahaprabhu. Sri Gaura Sundaju. Srimad Mahaprabhu. And this is probably, hang on, see if I can get it right again. This is probably more accurate with the, oh yes, how lovely. There we go. So 7'6" tall, skin glowing like fresh cut gold, molten liquid sense of his skin. Eyes, magnificently huge eyes. Let's see. There we go. And handsome, he's all these descriptions of his physical body. This is something like one of the reasons why I'm doing this description and discussion, because I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there with all these different things, because I think we should. I think we've avoided the human aspect in the divine search for so long, and I don't think that we ought to have taboos. I think it's not helpful to have taboos. I think it's very helpful to move these things that are unwanted desires into the light to be purified by the light. That takes courage to do, but it also takes a willingness to do. It takes a cooperative spirit to be working in your own best interest. So, in that spirit, what else can I show you? There's so much. To honor most deeply is to listen really intently and to comprehend, understand, and appreciate from another's perspective. Now, a lot of spiritual people are very egotistical because a lot of people don't have a personal God, meaning they've got nothing to relate to. So they put themselves in the God position and, dress in white to appear pure and stuff. This is off-white. It's not going to be helpful. If you encounter a truly spiritual person, you don't wonder about it. You know. And then when it comes to the words of the spiritual people, we can be hoodwinked so easily. There are hundreds and hundreds of versions of this particular book out there in the world, and have been for hundreds of years, more and more since the British arrived in India, of course, and wanted to put their own impersonal slant or Judeo-Christian type of machinations into the works. Now, I should point out and add that when Mahaprabhu 500 years ago was appearing, Christianity and Judaism had appeared in West India, and he didn't mention them at all. Not one mentioning. No validation, no discussion, no meeting, no curiosity, no one posited. Apparently, he did meet up with, and I've got to substantiate this. I don't know the truth of it, but I'm putting it out there because I hope someone else can substantiate, either confirm or deny. But I put it out there as a reasonable thing, and maybe just propaganda for Guru Nanak followers. But apparently they met under a tree and had a discussion, Guru Nanak and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Doesn't mean anything, because at the time when Mahaprabhu appeared, the whole country was, particularly the north, was captured by the Mongols. And so it was Mohammedan rule. The Lord himself appeared on the planet where he was born, in Bengal, in a captured province. It wasn't, the nation wasn't under Vedic control. He left Navadip, near what is today Kolkata, which was then, in Bengal, and he moved south to Orissa, to Srila Jagannath Puri, to Sri Jagannath Puri, and that was it was ruled by a Vedic king. So he didn't complain about it at all. There was only one time where he formed a civil disobedience movement against the local Kazi, the ruler of the area. And hundreds of thousands, apparently, were in his Sankirtan, coming right up to the Kazi Mishra's place and surrounded it. Well, the Lord went inside and, oh, my affectionate uncle, surely we can come to some arrangement, and started using the Quran as his evidence for what he's doing. And the ruler could not refuse the Lord, nor the hundreds of thousands of his followers outside with torches and whatever else they might have had, including their loud Sankirtan. And he came out victorious on that. No battle, converted. Everyone that he met, he converted. Amazing story of his journeys and the people that he encountered and met, and how he converted people. He didn't have to try. The thing is, the people who know could see. And in my own limited capacity of seeing, it's like I've observed people who have sincerely practiced for a long time. I've been in the company of, and that stuff just sits with them. It doesn't go anywhere. There's knowledge that's accumulated. There's could say punya, which is like material credit, but there's sukriti, which is genuine spiritual credit that has manifest within them. And as we act purely, this sukriti continues to build in us, and that is the body that we are reconditioning, our subtle body. The gross body is going to naturally be reconditioned by the subtle body. So if you start having tearing thoughts, self-harm thoughts, delusional thoughts, mad thoughts, angry, confused, all those sorts of thoughts, it's going to start, because it's in your subtle body, it's going to show up into your physical body. Disease, whatever, this is the case. You lead a good life, you end up looking good and young, because that's what we are. Like, you look at babies, they don't start off looking all haggard. They haven't accumulated unwanted desires. Mainly, we become haggard because of our attitude towards our accumulated frustrated desires, and our layers and layers of blame and accusation, either on others or ourselves, about that, when in fact we're really just deluded about what the purpose is that we're living for. So ultimately, I'm looking at the clock here, an hour and 18 minutes in. This is probably an hour and a half is probably what I'd like to go. And if I can do this on a regular, maybe once a week, drop in for an hour and a half, and we can do a bit of a catch-up. Should be enough time to introduce a number of subjects each time. And so I'll announce, if I do a live again, I'll announce it so people can come on. Yes, also, so that people know in the future, I will be advertising the best quality water in the world, because that's my business that I stand to make money from in the real world. And that's it. That's my only hook with this. So I'm going to educate you about that too. This is part of my brief. I will also introduce other technologies and thoughts and ideas and concepts that I believe will buttress and help and support you in the endeavor of developing and sustaining bhakti. I am your well-wisher in this endeavor. I want to do well in this endeavor to serve my own guru. I want to serve you by giving something from me that is real. It's not AI. It's not like I just disclose whatever, self-interest is in there. That's it. Right? I don't need anything from you. I don't want anything from you. If you want this, then just show up. I'll be here. Some of the other texts, there's so much. There's so much. And that's why this timing, right? If I could die in saddle, be very happy doing this. Okay, next one. Actually, let's go straight to the... It's been said that in Brindavan, amongst the saints, I dust my copy off. I dust the dust jacket off. I do read this one, but amongst the saints in Vrindavan, there are a few who carry this around, and it's starting to get a bit worn, and value this. This one is called Shri Prapanam Jivanam Ritam. Shri Prapanam Jivanam Ritam. The life nectar of the surrendered souls. Positive and progressive immortality. By Srila Bhakti Rakak Srila Dev Goswami Maharaj. I just love a good book, eh? So I am a bibliophile, and just everything about it's just fully gold, gorgeous, beautiful. And I'm very happy to say that, that on that pathway towards Srila Maharaj and the connection that I've now got, the soul that helped bring this about, I've met and served them, and I've got good relations. It's all so high that there needs to be a place for it to appear somewhere, and a proper fitting place. I'm not a proper person, but if I can not put myself in the way of it and just read it and present it to you, and you can just receive it as it's intended, and if whatever skill I've gotten dramatically or just being able to read it is of service to you, then let that be. It's not about me. It's not my property. The book is mine. Can be taken from me. I can be taken from this body. So what's mine? But we'll reserve this for later. It may even be when, I develop the channel further and you have a members section, etc. I don't know. But that's a very special book that I don't want to just generally present. There are some incredibly valuable gems, spiritual gems. And I don't mean to, I'm not trying to beat it up in the sense of, can we have that one now? We haven't set the stage. We haven't set the scene. We haven't done anything to facilitate proper understanding of it yet. So I'm taking responsibility in doing that first with you, not knowing what you know. I'll be reading from this one, and there's 3 volumes of this, the Sermons of Devotion by Srila Maharaj. This is a beautiful collection in exquisite detail of some revelations on devotion and wonderful stories. Like, this is the greatest thing about this culture, this real human culture of knowledge and spiritual knowledge, is the stories. The stories live inside of you and they inform you, but they are so fresh, ever fresh, and they should be. Different books on, this one's from Srila Govinda Maharaj, Affectionate Guidance, very practical, very direct, very sincere. This one, going through at the moment with my Gurudev and a few friends online in a class. If you're interested in that, I can hook you up. This one's Shri Harinam Chintamani, and this is by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the beautiful wish-fulfilling gem of the holy name. And one of the reasons that, not just that I take pleasure in doing it and I get something from it intrinsically, but that I want to share it with you. I really want you to gain some capacity of appreciation for Mahaprabhu, for the Supreme Lord. It's not an Indian thing, right? But let me address that. And actually, Srila Sridhar Maharaj in here does address that. This is Shishi Guru and his grace. So when we're having the discussion about Guru, who is Guru, who is qualified to be Guru, what that's all about, we'll be discussing this. And this particular book allowed a lot of people to evaluate the association that they were getting in ISKCON and challenge and give them the Siddhanta, the conclusive Shastric evidence as to why they should reevaluate, and choose wisely for their own soul's satisfaction and advancement by knowing who is Guru, because there was great confusion when Swami Maharaj left. Great confusion. So I'll just briefly go through some of the rest. Of course, we will be going through the Mahamantra and do a whole thing just on the Mahamantra. This is going to be one of our most important books to understanding Mahaprabhu, Sri Gaura Sundar. Gaura, golden, Sundar, beautiful. The beautiful golden Lord. So this is a poetic expression condensing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita into one beautiful song. Exquisitely, poetically, magnificently. And this is really some of the most evident reasons why this is divine, is that the capacity of some people to poetically capture, record, and express these concepts is beyond an ordinary being's capacity. You'll see it, you'll get it, you'll surrender to it. Some general advice, Vaishnava etiquette, some very high philosophical discussions, general history of Mahaprabhu, along with his most significant passages of his life, and of the relationship of the Guru and this knowledge. So I don't feel like this is a casual endeavor, despite my casual appearance, demeanor. I don't feel it to be trite or insignificant or flippant, We have this to consider also, that with the holy name and getting a taste, it's a process. Hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, there's a whole bunch. There's many different ways to serve. The easiest way to think about service, though, is being pleasing to someone else, right? Considering how one is being pleasing. There's all sorts, whether to speak or not to speak. I mean, there's occasions, for instance, where I act in a sense of service by speaking or asking a question when some personality is around, because the audience is shy or reserved, and I will speak some question into the space. It might be a real question, or it might just be filling the space for some conversation, but depending on how clever or good or apt or appropriate that question is, I might fill the space with my derision, which happens. It's okay. But being of service means taking a risk as well. Doing something for another is taking a risk. And the risk in that is you're offering not being accepted. That you go through all that effort and it isn't accepted. It isn't acceptable. It isn't appreciated. It isn't desired. It isn't wanted. Yeah. So to measure that with the Supreme Lord, who is going to be petitioned and inundated and flooded with requests and, tick the box kind of deal. In our mentality, like all these requests, subtly maybe, but practically, that's all delegated. The Lord is doing his own thing in his own way and completely independent. And that's why what it is that when we get into this deeper, you'll see so attractive. He doesn't need us to worship him. We need to worship him for ourselves. I'll leave it there. Thanks for your time and listening, and look forward to seeing you next time. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Gaura Sundar.